Hey, how's that? Can you guys hear me? Sorry, I kind of set up a lot of my streaming overlays, and some of my audio might have got deleted in that. I think it did. Anyways, so you guys couldn't hear any of that? Way to start the stream. Perfect. Game Boy Dad or anybody in the chat, can you guys confirm if you guys can hear me? Yeah, there we go. Okay, I got a new mic too, so that might have been part of the problem. I'm still kind of getting used to the new studio setup. Anyways, okay, so let me start that over. Hopefully it'll be better. Usually the first time is great. Game Boy Dad says school's about to be in session. Hopefully, we'll see. Now this tutorial series is inspired by an individual, another YouTuber called Sebastian Legue. He's a programmer. He mostly deals with Unity and C#. I deal with C# a lot, but for game development, I'm C++. However, this tutorial series will be based specifically and purely on blueprints. Now, he does have a video that this is inspired by. He did an ant simulation and what is it called? Some sort of mold spread type of simulation that he had. So this tutorial series, hopefully it's going to be a longer one, is inspired by his, so go check out his channel. But if you guys like this, hope you guys learn everything. I'm trying to take everything that he kind of did in Unity and in C# and give you guys something purely without any kind of coding knowledge that you guys can do in Unreal Engine. We will be going over kind of somewhat advanced AI topics, but I'm going to try to break them down to you as simply as I can. Now, this tutorial series is about ants and what they do. So ant simulation, for instance, ants have certain mechanics, and I'm trying to replicate that inside of AI, inside Unreal Engine, and kind of replicate their characteristics. So we will be going over movement, importing the ant character that I modeled and animated. Don't judge me on that. I am a programmer through and through. I pretty much know shit about any kind of modeling. I've done it in the past. I have not touched it in such a long time. All my family are, artists. A lot of my friends, colleagues, they are really great character artists. So yeah, don't judge me on that, but my programming is pretty solid. However, with blueprints, it's not a one-to-one translation from C++ into blueprints. However, I think everybody, as long as you can have some kind of creative and critical thinking, you should be able to grasp this. Let's see. Looks like the chat might be slightly delayed. Let me see. Let's see if I can pull that up. All right, actually, we'll just get into it. I'm going to try to break this down as simply as I can. Let's go back now to this screen. Okay, here's Unreal Engine. Now, the first thing that we have to do is import our ant model and animations. So I'm going to keep this. I did first person or third person basic template inside Unreal Engine. Nothing to it. I haven't added anything else except for these 3 folders. So we're going to be working specifically out of these 3 folders to implement everything we have, or everything that we need to implement. So I do have AI, animations, and materials. The first thing we will need to do is import our 3D characters. I'll select skeletal mesh, import mesh. You can leave animations here if they're baked in. Mine aren't. I've separated mine out, so you can just go ahead and import all. Go ahead and save these off. If you guys do have any questions, though, please hit me up in the chat, and I'll try to answer them if you guys have any. Okay, next thing, we're going to implement the idle and walk animations. Now, you do not want to import mesh on this. You can just import the animation and link it to the ant skeleton that you just imported previously. Import that. That's ant idle. And then ant walk. import mesh, import. There we go. Now I will move these off into the animation. Move here. Okay. All right, now the next thing we'll need is a way for us to more easily control the flow of the state of the ant. So we are going to use an enum for that. We'll go ahead and create an enum, preface it with E, stands for enum, self-explanatory. We'll call this EAI state. And actually, I'm going to get rid of my other screens here. You don't need to see my ugly mug for this tutorial series. I'll switch back if you guys really want to see it. Okay, next thing, it'll be idle wander. That's what our ant is going to be doing, at least for this first part. We just want it to idle wander. So it's going to switch back between idling and wandering. So that's our first state. You know how ants kind of just move around aimlessly, trying to find that next meal, that food. All right, so the next thing from here, we can go ahead and create the character blueprint. We'll preface this with BP, stands for blueprints. And then we need a couple of other variables called I guess we can just leave this as state, and then we'll plug in our EAI state. And then we will do another one called has food, and we'll set this as a Boolean value. Now, for your mesh, we're going to select the ant skeletal mesh right here. And that is rotate. We'll rotate him back. And we'll try to center him up. This will make it a little easier for us to perform rotation, so it looks kind of like it rotates from the core in the center of the ant. We'll set our capsule half height to 25 and 25. I think that'll work. And then actually, let's go ahead and reduce our ant size. Bring him back up. That looks good. So I just created basically a planar ant. It's a flat plane, has basic animations on it. You can't see those right now, but we're going to set that right now once we create the next set of files. So let's go ahead and create an animation blend space. We're just going to do 1D blend space because all we need to do is handle the speed. So we'll call this BS underscore ant idle walk. All right. Pop out your horizontal axis. You're going to call this speed. I usually set this to about 200. It's up to you on what you want to do. I'm going to just kind of separate these out a little bit more. The first one you want to pull in here is the walk animation or the idle animation. And then the second one you want to pull in is the walk. So this allows you to set the speed of the animation playing, and it blends in between these two. So if there's absolutely no speed at all, it's just going to do like an idle animation. But as the speed comes up, it's going to actually start walking. So it just blends between the two. If your speed is 0, it's just going to perform the idle animation. As it comes up, it blends between the two animations and it starts walking. So this is how we do it in Unreal Engine. So there's the blend space. We have our speed set up in the axis up here to make sure that we can handle that. Next thing we have to do is we have to create an animation blueprint. And we will call that on the ant skeleton. We'll call this one ant underscore NMBP. All right. Actually, I'll keep this like this. That's fine. We don't need to do too much. So the first thing we want to do is let's go ahead and go to our event graph. This is the first thing. We're going to go ahead and add a custom variable called speed. And we will do float value to match up. And from here, we will do get velocity. We have to get the speed of our character, which is the velocity, and then we have to get the vector length, which is how fast the character is traveling. And from here, we will set the speed. A little tip for you guys, if you guys drag out from here, holding down Control, it'll do a getter. And if you hold down Alt and drag out, it'll do a setter. So just a little tip for you. And then I'll go back over here. All right, so we got a couple of requests to keep my face up. That's nice of you all. All right. So this is how we get the... We have to get the pawn owner, get velocity, get vector length. This is essentially all to get the speed. So that's the first thing that we got to do. Next, we will stay in the NMBP. We have to set up the locomotion by adding state machine. We'll call this locomotion. Pipe that in. Now in here we'll create a new state called idle walk. You can call it idle wonder or whatever. Do that too if you want. Go ahead and pipe in speed, and then we are going to use our blend space and pipe that in to there. So the cool thing about this, I don't know if you guys are still following me here or not, but this essentially allows us, this shows how everything is kind of connected. If you notice, as I start increasing this up to a certain speed, let's do 100 and 200. Let's see if this works. Let's make sure we named everything right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's walk. Idle. Okay. Yeah, we got everything all good. All right. Now we essentially have our character. I think I gotta lower this down a little bit. Since you can't bring any of this up, this is actually coded, the capsule component is coded in C++. It is static, you can't touch it. So we're gonna bring this down instead. We want it to be essentially right at the base. Yeah, that should be fine. Just hovering barely over the ground. There we go. Now I cannot stand this default material on this ant, so I will create a basic material. Preface this with M, and we'll just call it ant. And I'm going to set this color to, if you hold down 3, you can bring out a constant vector 3 node. Pipe that into base color. We could, if you hold down 1, we can do a constant one. Just a regular constant value. We can pipe it into specular. Give this 1. So let's reduce this 0.5. That should just give us a little bit of shine on it. And we'll do this. Roughness, set that to 0. 0.75. See if 0.5 is good. Trying to get that nice ant body material look. There we go. That looks all right for now. Yep. All right. And last but not least, we'll, in our character here, make sure that we are using our ant and MVP. Actually, we will set the material in here as well. So now, when you come in here, and it's not moving, it's using the animation blueprint to do its little idle jig, yeah? All right. Next thing, this is where the AI comes into play. So this is going to be the fun part. So artificial intelligence, we'll go ahead and create a new behavior tree, and we'll call this BT ant. Yeah, that should be good. All right. We got to create a brand new blackboard. We'll put that in AI, and we'll call this BB ant. Save it. Link that to there. Save that. Okay. Now we're going to be creating 2 new keys. So, okay. Follow me here for a second. One of the first things that we have to do is we want this ant to wander. There's many ways you could do that. You could do a like a spline path, and have it follow the path. You could have it kind of be a pseudo-random, vector selector. So it just picks a random vector in a range. I like that one a little bit more. There's a bunch of other different ways you can do it. Just have it, you can manually do it, so it just moves forward every, it just does a loop or a timer, and it just kind of moves around aimlessly. But we want to pick, I think, a random vector within a range, and so that's why we need the ant to go to that random vector, and just have it keep looping over and over again, so it just picks a brand new one. So it looks like, and it's simulating it moving around aimlessly, yeah. So I think we'll do that, and with that we will need a destination vector. So let's go ahead and do destination. We also need to have an enum that handles the state, because we want this to link to our state, and we want that state system that we currently have with the enum, we want that kind of to grow, so we can just easily maintain the list of states that the ant will be going through. The key type, you want this to be AI state. And the reason why I named this AI state is because for a lot of the AI that you're going to be developing, you're probably going to be wanting to use it for more than just one thing, right? You don't want it necessarily to just apply to an ant. This same AI can be used for a person, a monster, anything like that. So you may want to keep your states or other files, you want to kind of group them in general terms, so you don't have to create enum ant state, enum monster state, enum cat state. You don't have to do all those things unless they have dramatically different states, right? Then you may want to kind of specifically have one for monsters, for NPCs, and then one for something else. So just keep that in mind. That's why I didn't name this ant state. It doesn't matter. You can name it anything you want. I just try to think about what I'm going to name it before I do it. So, and the purpose of it. So, okay. Let's go ahead and save that off. So now we have our destination and our state. You don't have to touch anything else here for now. We will save that. We'll check something here. Let's make sure everything's all good here. Okay. All right, so the next thing we want to do is create our AI controller. So let's go ahead and create a new blueprint class. We're going to do AI controller. Nah. This comes with a few things: path following component and the actions component, which is going to tie directly into how we set up our AI system. So this should help out. Should get you guys understanding this. So the first thing we got to do, I'm just going to run behavior tree, because that's what we're building over there. Here, this BT ant, that's a behavior tree. So we're going to link that here. And right now it doesn't do anything, but we do want to set up this AI controller. We will be back to the AI controller to do more stuff, just not right now. So for now, if we run this, it is running that in the background here. You could actually do a toggle breakpoint here, and you'll see that it actually does stop at that point. Okay. Next, let's set up our selector. So we're going to tell the ant kind of, this is where we give the ant its behavior. For this, we will need a new service. And you can't rename these. They automatically open it for you here, unlike some of the other blueprints. But we will call this BTS for Behavior Tree Service. And we'll name this Ant State Service. Right? If you do get this screen right here, just open full blueprint editor. Right here. And there's going to be a couple things we need to do. We'll create this as the state key. And this is a Blackboard key selector. We will make this instance editable, and I'll show you why in a second. And then you don't have to touch anything there. But let's go ahead and do a receive tick AI. I'll zoom in here a little bit. Hopefully you guys can see that. We'll cast to our BP ant character, and then we're going to pull off the state from our character. Now, I know I might be going a little bit fast here. Let's see if I can slow down a second and show you guys kind of why you can't do cast to third person character. You can't get this same variable in third person character because this does not exist in any other place. I mean, hypothetically it could, we just haven't created yet. But this same variable, this enum variable, EAI state, does not exist inside third person characters. So we're getting the controlled pawn. The controlled pawn in this case is using the AI controller, right? Which ties into the ant character itself, which is here, that has its movement components, its mesh, its, collision. And we have in here this thing that's called state. Now we also have one in here that's called has food, right? So that's why we can only pull that off. This one, this other character here does not have a has food. That's custom to our BP ant character, if anybody was wondering. I just hope I'm not going too fast for it. I know you guys are smart enough, but all right. So we will get the state key, and then we'll go ahead and set Blackboard value as enum. Pipe in that key, pipe in the enum, and we are done with this. So basically what this is doing is it's allowing us on the outside in our character, BP ant character, to control the enum rather than having the AI control the enum. This allows our AI to just utilize and kind of does a separation of concerns kind of thing. Oh, dude, I didn't switch on you guys. This is kind of this kind of sucks. I got to show you guys what I did. I'm just gonna recreate it. I'll just recreate everything here. I was on the wrong screen, and you guys did not see any of that last little bit. So let's go ahead and redo it. One-man production. All right. You guys saw I'm just going to redo it. See you. All right. We're going to create a brand new artificial intelligence behavior tree. BT ant. Save this off. Open it up. The Blackboard asset this is linked to, you want to create a new asset. Put that in AI. We're going to be calling that BP ant. BB ant, yeah. BB ant is going to have a couple keys. A vector for destination. And enum for state. Make sure you select the correct state right there. From here, we'll create a new AI controller class. Called BP Ant AI Controller. And in here, we're going to run behavior tree that we just created. Welcome to the stream, everybody. I appreciate it. We got a bunch of viewers now. If you guys have any questions on Unreal or any of this process, you need me to slow down, just let me know. Okay, let's get back to it. So we will be back to the AI controller piece. We don't need to be right now. We just added that run behavior tree portion. We created our behavior tree. It's not doing anything right now. And then we created our Blackboard with two random keys, or two additional custom keys, destination and state. So that's where we're at now. All right. So now we got to go to our behavior tree, pull down a selector. So this moves from left and right, the selectors. The selectors, because you can pull out a bunch of things right here. So you can have multiple selectors, multiple sequences, my bad, multiple sequences off of a selector. You could even have additional selectors off of there. And it moves from left to right. So it'll do the sequence and then it'll pick another selector, you know, however you want to set this up for performing your AI. For this one, we will need a new service because the services that they have right now that by default that come with Unreal Engine is run, EQS, and default focus. So we need something that does something separate. You could do the EQS one, but that's might still be experimental. I haven't messed with it too much. But we're in this case, we're just going to create a new service. That's the EQS for anybody who wants to know. That is environment query system. So it's just a completely separate AI system. It's powerful. It's a little slow. At least it was when I tried it the first time back in the day. Back in the day, like super long time ago. No, it was like 5 years ago. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do, we'll go ahead and rename this to BTS Idle Wander Service. Service, if I can spell. Alright, so we'll do event receive tick AI. You can also do that here with an override. It's a little easier if you don't want to, if you can't remember what that is. And then we'll create another one. Did it add it? No, it didn't. Let's try a new one. There we go. And then we'll rename this one to BTS Ant State Service. This is the first one we're going to work on. And so this one, you will need a new variable that takes in a Blackboard key. You'll make this instance editable by checking this little eyeball. And then you don't have to do anything after that. Go ahead and do override to receive tick AI. Controlled pawn is going to be cast to BP ant character. This will be state key. Pull that off. Get the state. And then we're going to set a Blackboard value as enum. And we're done with that one. For our second one, it's a little different. We need two variables. One float for the radius. And then destination key. This is a Blackboard key selector value. Both of these will be also instance editable. We'll do get actor location. And then this is where we're going to set up our random point that it picks from for the ant to travel to during the behavior tree. So we'll go ahead and get the current actor location, the ant's location now. And then we're going to just do get random reachable point in radius. So what this allows us to do is it just gets random points within the range, right? The cool thing about this is that because of the navigation nav mesh that's implemented into Unreal, even if it hits a point on the top of something that it can't get to, it'll still move. It's not going to break the system. It just won't be able to get up there, but it'll at least move into that direction. So it's pretty robust. We'll go ahead and pipe in radius there. And this is where we're going to set how far out we want to scan for the new point. We can set this to anything like 500. Let's do maybe, or let's do like maybe 1,000 or 1,500, something like that. Let's do 1,000. And then we got to set this value. So we will do set Blackboard value as vector. And if you guys notice a pattern at all, we're setting these inside these services to control what's in the Blackboard value. So destination, these two keys, we're using these in these new services, right? So when you have a Blackboard value like this, when you're using it in a service or inside the blueprints, it's not going to have the value. They're key value pairs, right? So this is the key that matches up to this key value in here. So that's why it's not, you know, a float or an enum here. It's because it's just a Blackboard key that references this value that's a vector. Hope that makes sense. It can be a little confusing at times. Okay, now let's go back to our behavior tree. And we want to add a service here. So this is getting its state first. So we want to make sure that we get the state before we do anything. We don't want the character to just be wandering around first, right? Before checking what the state is. You want it to check the state, what should I be doing, and then pick from what it's supposed to do. So we will create a sequence. Pipe in our service. Idle wander service. Once it checks its state. And then you want a decorator, it's a blackboard condition, that says what it's supposed to be doing. So you can say let's see. Oh, there we go. If the state is equal to idle wander, go ahead and continue with this service down here. So this is conditional based services. So first, it gets the state itself. And then it says, hey, only run this stuff below here. We're going to do some other stuff down here. Only run this if this condition is equal to whatever this is. So is equal to, if the state is equal to idle wander, we don't have anything else yet, go ahead and continue with this, right? So the first thing that we're going to do is, and just one little point I want to point out, something that confused me early on. I didn't figure out why right away, but this might help you, is that we set these, let me pull this off. I hope you guys can see it. I have a 4K monitor, and sometimes it's brutal to see this stuff. But if you notice, let me zoom in. We have radius here and destination here. This allows us to change the variables here if we need to. And this should be destination. It allows us to change the variables here that we have inside of our services, right? So we have a radius service. If you did not have this as instance editable, that goes away and you can't change anything here. So if you have this instance editable, it'll be there. So we set it to 1,000. Now this does take in the default value. So let me set it to 500 for instance, right? It'll update it to 500 here. Now if I set this to 1,000, you can do that, and it'll not, this is just the default value. If there's no default value set here, you'll notice this, reset the default, and it'll be 500. We are going to keep this at 1,000. Keep that there. Okay, let's get back to it. Let's go ahead and save that off. Okay. And the other thing too is this self actor needs to be state. So the state key is state. The radius 1,000, destination key, destination. This ties everything together. So the first thing we want to do is we want to move to a location. Well, where do you want to move to? We want to move to the destination. Once we move to the destination, what do you want the ant to do? You could have it wait. You could have it stop, go back home. You could have it do a bunch of things, right? In this case, we just want it to kind of be a little bit more natural. We're going to go ahead and have it wait. We want, you know how ants kind of move around and then they smell, or the pheromone trails that they leave? We kind of want that realistic condition where it just kind of pauses just for a second, We don't want the wait time to be 5 seconds. You can have this as a little bit lower, 0.1. You want to make sure ignore restart to self on both of these are checked. Otherwise it will get stuck in that state and it won't continue. Okay. I think we are done. All right, let's see if it works. And I will keep up the behavior tree here. While we are playing this to see if it works. Oh, I know why. AI controller. This is not an AI controller. Go back here. Let's do this. I want to make sure that give me just 1 second. I know we have to do auto possess player. You got to turn that off. There we go. Yeah, that works. Just make sure though. We're going to select our BP AI controller. Let's see if it's running. Should be. Okay, it is running. That's good. Okay. All right, so what? Let me go through the files and see what I did wrong. So we are running the behavior tree. Let's go here. Make sure those need to be instance editable anyways. And then character movement. It's okay. So what happens when you do these tutorials on the fly? Wonder should be fine. That is moving. Oh, here's one thing I did forget inside the animation blueprint. And that is... let's make sure that this is valid in the first place. Okay. So it is not valid right now. Make sure our locomotion is set up right. Oh, I don't think it is. Let's see. No. That's good. Once I figure it out, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, that's simple. Can't believe I forgot that. No, it's all good here. Let's make sure. It's running everything. But it should not be running that fast. Not at all. Why isn't it working? Let me check something real quick with the third character person. You know, this shouldn't matter. Wait, hold on. Let's see. Okay, so we could fix this real quick. One thing I think we might be able to do let's just duplicate this, the third person character. We're going to bring that over to our ant simulation. We'll go ahead and move there. All right. We may have to just scrap some of this, but I don't know. I'm probably forgetting something real quick. I wish I could tell you. I wish I could tell you right now what it is. But just for the sake of us getting through this, I think I could just do this. It's probably some silly run component that I'm missing. 0.25, 0.25, 0.25. There's some run mechanic that I'm missing. So I'm just going to do this for now. Tutorials on the fly, you know. We'll just call this BP ant character 2. This will be BP ant AI controller, placed or swirled or spawned. You know what? That should be auto-possessing. That that bugs me. That bugs me that it's just having a brain fart, I guess. Apply the ant material on that. Make sure that our mesh is using the animation blueprint of ant and BP. Do cast to BP ant character 2. Oh. We've got to do this. What's up, everybody? No, that's not needed. Don't need that. Since we do have the other one in there. Okay. That's all the same. Wondering why. Doesn't make any sense. It's like firing way too fast. If the state, all right, let's just let's dig in. We don't need any of that. I do need that. Wondering if it's, yeah, it's just like not auto possessing the AI for some weird reason. I don't know why. It's there. Idle wander, set blackboard value is enum, that's there. That's good. Okay. AI controller is there. That's good. There. It's the one I did before. There we go. There we go. So, point is, I missed something, and I'll make sure to update you guys on what that is. Not quite sure what I missed, but it works. So that's the next thing that we're going to do. We'll just go ahead and go to the materials portion of it, because that is kind of cool. Let's see here. You know what? Let me try one more thing before we continue. Just print the random values. Just make sure that we're actually getting a random value. That's why it's not working. So it actually is working. It's just not getting a random value. Okay. No, that's real good. That's real good to know. Okay. So, see up here? I'm having it print out. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's just X, Y, and Z are all set to 0. So, we'll fix this. All right. Let's get this done. So it is not doing a random get actor location is here. Here, I'm gonna actually switch it back to what we had before inside the AI ant service. I don't want all that extra junk from the third person character in here. I just wanted to test to make sure it is actually working. Or the same. Okay, so it should be back to normal. Oh. There we go. Idle wonder. State is good. Cast a BP character. Okay. Typically you want to put like cannot cast into these. Just to make sure you can cast it. Is valid. Okay. Okay. So it's not able to get a random point. So let's go ahead and print off this as well. It's going to be a little bit messy for now. Should be all right. Okay, so that is good. Let's move it. Okay. All right, so it can tell that we are moving it, getting the correct values. Just going through testing. Okay, so the random point. Why is random location not getting anything? So get actor location from origin. Radius is 1,000. Instance editable. Get random reachable point in radius. And it's returning 0, 0, 0 for X, Y, and Z. Doesn't make any sense. In theory, everything here works. Why is it not able to get this for me? It's coming through. Everything's good. It's printing. Controlled pawn. It has a value. It's setting the state. Idle wander. That's all good. This is firing way too fast. Blackboard key is destination. Ignore restart to self. That's fine. State. It's not even getting to there. Just getting to move to. So weird. So my AI is all good. Maybe my AI controller is not good. Let's see. What have I not done? Auto activate. That's all fine. Nope, that's fine. Running the behavior tree, that's good.